Hi, I'm Phil Shannon, and welcome to Two Cultures, One Vision podcast, number 3.
And I'm Raman Rai, as you know me, from Harborside Realty. And today we have a very special guest with us, Mitchell. Please, Mitchell.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm Mitchell McDade. I am a lawyer with Farrow Hicks McDade Law in Upper Tantallon.
So we recently had the pleasure of working with you through a transaction. It went well, and we thought, what a great fit to have you out to, on our podcast. So thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. How's the drive, first off?
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah,
It's a nice scenic drive.
Yeah.
No traffic in downtown. So I'll take that. And it's a hell of a spot out here. So.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful. And Raman graciously brought us some pizza.
Pizza was good.
Pizza was good, I must say.
Did not disappoint. Yeah.
Very good. So let's talk about you for a little history, so people get to know you.
Sure. Yeah.
So where you were born? You were born in...
I was born in Halifax.
In Halifax?
Yeah. All my family's from Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
But, when I was a young child, my mom and dad, we got transferred to Ontario. So I did grow up there for most of my life until about university age.
Okay.
And then went to University of Waterloo for my undergrad, and then Dalhousie for law school. And I've been in Nova Scotia ever since, and we'll be here forever.
So what was it like growing up in Ontario? Were you in in the Toronto area?
Yeah, I was in GTA. I was in Mississauga.
Right.
So just 20 minutes outside of Toronto, but a lot of traffic, a lot of the same vibe as Toronto, just a little bit smaller. But so it was a bit of a different vibe than I wanted for the rest of my life, I'd say. I like the nice mixture of Nova Scotia where you can have that downtown feel if you want. You can go get it in Halifax, but you're not battling white knuckle traffic to get to work all the time.
True enough, yeah. And it's such a beautiful province. We say that in all our podcasts, but it is. It's such a beautiful province, and the people are so welcoming. It's just such a nice vibe here. It really is. Yeah. So you're back in Nova Scotia, Halifax, and you went to Dow Law.
I did, yeah.
And called to the bar.
Called to the bar, yes. Put me on the spot now. 2019.
2019, yeah.
Graduated from law school in 2018.
So where you are today, your practice, is this where you landed? Is that the...
It's not. I articled at I guess what would be for Halifax standards, a mid-sized firm, 30 or 40 lawyers or so, and articled there. So your lawyer apprenticeship, basically, you have to do for a year after you graduate law school, and that process to get accredited as a lawyer. So did that, and then I ended up moving out to what was Farrow Law at the time, back in 2019, and then was there for about 3 years or so, and then I did 1 year at HRM, in-house counsel at the municipality, and then I was offered to become a partner at Farrow Hicks Law at that point and make it Farrow Hicks McDade about a year or two ago. So I've been back and will be there going forward.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. So on the personal side, do you have family in the HRM?
Yeah, so in HRM, I've got a lot of aunts, uncles, and cousins.
Right.
My mom lives in Cape Breton, so she's a little
Beautiful.
bit of a drive, but it's a nice vacation spot for me to go whenever I can for Christmas or when I have an excuse to go.
Just off camera, we were talking about snowmobiling.
Snowmobiling, golf. It's a paradise there for sure.
So you do golf. You told me that. So what is your favorite course in Cape Breton?
Favorite course in Cape Breton would be Highland Links.
Highland Links.
And the national park up there. I haven't had the pleasure of playing Cabot yet.
Is that the one in Ingonish?
That's what Highland Links is in Ingonish.
I'll tell you a little story about this, and it's going to be off topic. So me, my ex-wife, we went to Ingonish, and not being a good golfer, like I say, I can guarantee you I can go out tomorrow and shoot 118, you know what? And I can go out next week and shoot 118, so I figure that's my number. So we went there not knowing the course, didn't get a cart. I don't think at that point you could get a cart. I don't think you could.
It's a long walk.
We didn't finish the course. We didn't finish the course.
Yeah.
We were there that long, and you know what? It's not, there's one hole, it's like moguls almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And my ex-partner would hit it from one mogul to the next mogul to the next mogul. And they actually have people in the ponds there digging out balls. You can actually buy your balls back. Yeah, like you hit 5 or 6 into the water. You can, because you go through a lot.
Yes, you gotta be prepared.
Yeah. But a beautiful course.
Beautiful, yeah.
I never did golf.
No.
Yeah, I will do this year.
Yeah, we'll go.
Nice.
We'll hit a bucket of balls first just to get a little bit of rhythm
warmed up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
This is the one for beginners.
There's a good one in out Prospect Way, like Indian Lake.
Yes,
That's a good one for beginners. There's a driving range right across from it.
Right, yes.
Well, that's a good one to start out.
Yeah. It's a fun game as long as you don't have any kind of aspirations of being a professional.
Yeah, I'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sorry to get off topic there, but yeah.
I could go about golf all day.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
So now you have your own practice.
Yes.
What drew you to real estate? You told me about this, again.
Yeah, I think real estate law, for the most part, I call it happy law.
Yeah.
Because you're usually doing something that someone wants to do, where a lot of law is reactive and you're reacting to maybe a bad situation.
Right.
You're in an accident. You're being sued. You have to sue somebody else. You're getting a divorce.
A broken relationship.
All that
Absolutely. Yes.
stuff. So,
yeah.
Real estate law, for the most part, people are excited. They're buying their first home.
Yes.
They're buying a rental property, or they're selling and making a great profit or something.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's people are making the conscious choice that they want to do this. It's not a reaction.
Right.
So I like it, and I like the interpersonal aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
You get to have a large network of people that you work with, realtors, other lawyers, mortgage brokers, all that. So the happy, positive vibe and just the collaboration of it. It's this team effort, even though, you may have one realtor or one lawyer. There's still a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. So
there are a lot,
game.
And I don't think that a lot of people understand that there's a lot that happens, i.e., title searches and all that stuff. There's, well, why do I need a lawyer? Why do they need a lawyer?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, you're legally obligated for one.
Right.
But secondly, there's a lot of things that only the lawyer will really know, or things that they'll know to look out for.
Right.
So yeah, like you said, title search. We got to search for things like liens on the property. So I think a lot of people maybe get confused about what the difference between a lawyer has to do and what a realtor has to do. I would say the realtor is more focused on the actual physical of the house, the physical
Absolutely.
of the property.
Yes.
The lawyer's not focused on that, right? The
Yeah.
lawyer's focused on the legal aspects of it. So making sure that the boundaries look okay.
Yeah.
If we have access to a survey, again, looking for liens or judgments. Is there proper access? Does an easement need to be added to get to there? Is it off of a public road? All those kind of things are things that a lawyer would look at and gives the buyer the peace of mind that they need to go forward.
Right. Perfect. Very good. So as a lawyer and as a realtor, I think communication is super important. I will say sometimes that always doesn't happen. That not all the time. It does most times, but I think it's very important that there's communication. And with Robin and I working with you, we realized, oh my God, he's such a great communicator that there's no questions like. Are we closed? Are we this? It's all put out there. So we're part of the transaction as well. So
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. It's from the first touch point, really. Like, the lawyer really gets involved once the agreement of purchase and sale is accepted and the realtor sends it to us, right?
Right.
But I always like to link up everybody on an initial email.
Right.
Just say realtor, lawyer, clients.
Yeah.
If there's a mortgage broker, maybe throw them on there.
Right.
Throw her on there.
Yeah.
And go from there. So it's key.
Yeah. So this is a tough question, and we didn't discuss this. I'm throwing this out there. Okay. So in real estate today, are you seeing something repetitively that's concerning to you, saying, oh my God, why does this keep happening? Is there anything like that as far as, the deal is written? Why did they not consider this? Why did the realtor not?
Sure. I would say one thing that comes up, and it's a newer thing, only in the last year or two. So the provincial deed transfer tax.
Right.
We've had a lot of people that are coming from, they're not Nova Scotians by the meaning of the word for the legal purposes that are looking to buy a home here. I've had experiences where realtors or maybe the lawyer does not adequately explain that is going to be applicable. So that's a 5% additional tax on top of the purchase price or assessed value, whatever's greater. If you're not a Nova Scotia resident, you're not going to be living in that house full time.
Right.
And that could be a big chunk of change depending on.
Yeah. So speaking about that, if I'm living in Ontario.
Yep.
And I just want to buy a property to put in my portfolio in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
So typically the deed transfer act, because I say there could be some changes. We're hearing changes are coming, but typically it's 1.5% now the deed transfer tax for a local resident.
So there's two deed transfer taxes. There's the municipal deed transfer tax, which would be that 1.5%.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. And go ahead. Yeah.
And if I'm coming from Ontario and I'm not going to live in this residence, then there's another tax on top of that. Am I correct?
That's right. Okay. That's right.
That will be 6.5%.
Total, pretty much. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it adds on. So
right.
And a lot of people like that second house that they're buying here in Nova Scotia might be a cottage, right?
Yeah.
And they're not going to live in it full time. So it's going to be subject to that 5%. And if it's a $500,000 property,
it's considerable. It's considerable.
Yeah. You can change your plans, or it might affect your financing.
Right. So if I am planning on living in it full time, even if I'm from Ontario, but I'm moving here, I don't pay the 5%.
You're good. Yeah.
Yes.
As long as you plan to either become a Nova Scotia resident full time within 6 months of the closing,
Right.
or you're moving into it right away and you're living there.
It's going to be my primary
You're okay.
residence. Okay.
You're
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. How about you, Raman? Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question from you.
Okay.
So if you could can have any law disappeared from real estate law,
Oof.
yeah, which one would it be?
I think he'd like to get rid of the realtors.
Yeah. Lawyer gets the commission instead. No.
Then he has to go outside.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's a good question. HST maybe? HST on a new build.
Yeah, that's it. That gets complicated.
It can get complicated, and it again might not be factored in off the top of the head from
Right,
the buyer.
right.
That's an annoying one.
Can
And
you-
it throws off the math. Or it's more math.
Can you elaborate on that? Because again,
Yeah,
so if I'm buying a new property,
Yep.
and it says it's HST applicable, which all new home construction is,
Correct.
do I pay that as the buyer? Does the builder pay that? Where does the HST come from?
Yeah, so typically there's a couple different options you can select in the agreement purchase and sale.
Okay.
Typically, I guess what the easiest way to think of it is it's 15% on top of the purchase price.
Yes.
Really?
Right.
Now, some builders or the vendors in those contracts, they might have a clause in the agreement purchase and sale that rebate, they'll actually pay it, and they assign the rebate back to themselves because there's a tax advantage. So there can be things like that, but
Right.
really the buyer should be aware that it's basically 15%.
15% plus their D transfer tax plus. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's another thing. And, so people have different views on whether it really should be applicable, because as soon as that home, you own it for a year and you flip it, then there'd be no HST.
Yes,
And
exactly.
only a year later, it's not applicable. So
Right.
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
Yeah, I mean it's not a car where HST, no matter how many times it transfers, you're paying the HST
Yeah.
on it. Yes, yeah.
So you want that deleted from?
I would like to delete it, just a little less math,
Yeah,
a little less price
yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if
No, or the federal government.
Or the federal government, yes, yeah.
Expecting the HST.
yeah, sorry. Yes,
Act,
yeah.
but yeah, it's probably a tough sell. But you asked if it was my choice, so
Yeah.
I'm playing hero here. Yeah.
another thing, we hear a lot about real estate disputes. Tell us about the wildest you have.
Oh,
I'm the question guy, so I just like to,
no, these are good.
Yeah.
Wildest real estate dispute.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah. Had a few. So like maybe on a closing walkthrough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right.
Day of closing, the night before the closing, we have a walkthrough. I had one recently where there was a pipe that burst overnight on the night before the walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Caused a lot of damage. Got a quote, luckily, that day of closing from a plumber and a contractor, and it's like $10,000 for the damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So usually, I guess the options, like you guys would know on that, is either reduce the purchase price by $10,000,
Right.
or we might do a holdback.
Right.
So the lawyer holds $10,000 until the work is done.
Absolutely.
everyone's happy,
Right,
and
yeah.
then it's released, right?
yeah.
So we had one where it took like 3 or 4 months to get someone in to do it.
Wow.
So there was a lot of additional damage happening because the
mold and- yeah,
I
yeah.
turned the water off, but
Yeah.
it was still
Yeah.
it's exactly mold basically multiplied the damage.
Yeah.
So that just got kind of nasty because it was like, okay, how long do we, what's the expectation here for hold? How long does that money get held back for? Is it like indefinitely? Like, what if
Yeah.
we can't find a contractor for a year? Like during COVID, it was very
Right,
hard to find
yeah.
tradespeople and things like
Yeah.
that. So we had to get some negotiation on there. And I guess it's more of a point for the lawyers to make sure that if you're doing a holdback, and the realtors too, like it might require an amendment
Yeah.
to say like the money will be released at this date no matter what.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it has to be a reasonable amount of time
Right. Yeah.
for that work to be done. It can't be forever.
Forever.
So,
It's
yeah.
it's something similar on Facebook I read the other day where somebody had vacated their premises, 2 weeks before closing.
Yeah.
Pipe burst.
Yeah.
About $100,000 worth of damage, and insurance wouldn't cover it because there was
Vacant,
it was vacant.
Yeah.
I just can only imagine the challenges on a legal standpoint trying to work through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is that clause in the standard agreement purchase and sale saying, the property's at the risk of the seller until
Yes.
it's
closed.
Yeah.
In that case, if insurance isn't going to pay, that's tough. If insurance is going to pay, then I guess the buyer has the choice, right?
Right.
They can close, take the insurance proceeds,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
you do a holdback or a price adjustment, but they can get messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did touch on home inspections,
Right.
you know, and the advantages of doing one compared to not doing one. I mean, a home inspector generally could be $600 to do a home inspection. For some buying a home, that's a pretty good expense for anybody, honestly. $600 for a home inspection.
yeah.
You know what? But tell me about the pitfalls about not doing one. Say on pre-close, we're walking through on a home inspection the day before, the day of closing, and we come across some issues. Do the clients have any legal leg to stand on? I.e., my fridge isn't working, my oven's not working. You know, so what kind of risks do people take when they don't do a home inspection?
Yeah. So I think the overarching principle for buyers of real estate is not to get crazy legal, but it's called caveat emptor, Latin for buyer beware.
Yes.
So that is the overarching principle whenever you're really buying anything.
Yes. Anything.
So as a result of that, the presumption is if buyer beware, you've got to do your due diligence to have any leg to stand on.
Right.
So what a home inspection is it's another piece of evidence in your back pocket that you can use if something is awry down the road.
Yes.
You know, it was fine or it wasn't fine, but you have or documentation or pictures of date, person who inspected it. It's fact, right? So it's helpful if you're going to have to, you know, argue about some issue.
Yeah.
I think it's at $600 well spent
to
have that because it could save you a lot of
Right.
save you money down the road,
Right.
time as well. You don't have to maybe sue somebody if you can point to the home inspection and say, well, clearly, you know, we have evidence. Right here.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
It might back down this, you know, de-escalate the situation.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's always a good practice to
Yeah.
do. And it's probably $600 well spent.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, I you know what? Yeah, septic is huge. Yes,
Septic,
yes,
like we were talking off camera. Septic is probably the most costly system in your house.
yes,
And it's probably the thing that is not taken care of the best.
Right.
And it's hard to, like, it's underground.
yes.
You can't get an eye on it, right?
No.
Unless you do, it's at least the house you can at least put an eyeball on it.
Yes.
But, you know, there's still stuff hiding in a house.
Right, yes, yeah.
But septic, and people don't take care of septic systems in the sense that they probably don't pump it until it's really full, which
Yes.
is bad for the system.
Yeah.
And how many times does that happen, right? So,
Oh, it's coming into my basement. Oh, it's time.
yeah, call somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so septic inspection, definitely
Yes,
key.
yeah.
Well, too.
Yeah, well, oh, absolutely. I mean, well, without potable water.
Yeah, you run into a ton of issues.
Yeah. I mean, most banks will not, give you a mortgage without, potable water.
Yeah, so you need some evidence of potable water, and title insurance does help with that too.
Right, okay.
So title insurance can help with the potable water. If you don't get a well inspection or a well test, water test, if you buy title insurance, then that will cover water issues, and most lenders will.
I did not know that.
So it's a good
Yeah.
other option. And if you're getting a mortgage, you have to get title insurance. So
Okay.
your client's going to have to pay the $200, $300 for it anyway.
So I know a lot of times lawyers will advise to take title insurance.
Yeah.
So what are the advantages? Obviously, if you can go back 30 years, it might save a dispute. I think that's my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Title insurance is a great product. So it's not like insurance where you have to pay for it monthly. It's a one-time fee when you buy your house.
Right.
If we're talking in that context of a purchase, it's usually around $300.
Okay.
Let's say a one-time payment. So it's another closing cost, but if you're getting a mortgage, you're going to have to get it. It's a requirement of 99.9% of lenders. So we always have to order title insurance when it comes to mortgage defaults. What it does, the main thing that it does is the land registration system in Nova Scotia, like there's a little map of every property.
Yes.
And it shows what the province thinks the boundary is. That's not legally binding.
Okay.
The only people that can dictate what an actual boundary of a lot is a surveyor.
Right.
So usually lots of properties don't have a survey certificate. They don't have a location certificate, or the property hasn't been surveyed for 50 years.
Right.
Right. So and it's not practical to survey before closing.
Right.
Surveyors, it's 6 months to a year usually.
So is that part of migration?
Migration. So yeah, we can get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So what title insurance essentially replaces is the need for a surveyor to verify things on every closing.
Right.
The title insurance comes say, okay, if there's, your neighbor's shed's actually over your boundary line by 6 feet, we'll pay to rectify that, whatever that means. Having them remove it, buy them a new shed, whatever that. So that's really the main advantage of a title insurance.
Impressive. Okay.
So migration.
Yes.
Good question. So migration again doesn't. So that's a process of moving your legal property from the old registry of deed system
Yes.
to the new land registration
Right.
system. And that has to happen whenever a property is being sold for value, or you're putting a new mortgage on it and it's in the old system. So there's certain triggering events that you have to migrate. So if you're buying a property that isn't migrated, the seller's lawyer is going to have to migrate it
Right.
to the closing happens.
But if I'm deeding it as a family gift, it doesn't have to be
Doesn't have to.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
if it's a gift, won't trigger migration. But migration does not certify the boundary.
right.
It is certifying legal ownership of what that property is. So you search back 40 years to make sure there's a deed in, out to every previous owner and all that stuff. All the T's are crossed, I's are dotted in that sense. And that it can therefore be moved to the new system and it's certified that it's able to be sold.
Okay.
So, yeah.
For the viewers, how much time does it take for the migration to be?
Yeah, great question. That's a common question. It depends. My favorite lawyer answer. It depends.
Lawyer speak.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna get kicked out here. Yeah. But honestly, if it's a straightforward migration, so you have to order a title search. Our firm, we have a title searcher that we outsource that to. If it's a straightforward migration, it'll probably take a week or two to get that title search back. If the title search, once it's reviewed by the lawyer, do the migration is fairly clean, straightforward, no issues, another week or two, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks total on a straightforward one. If we get one back, it's super messy. Got to get easements from a neighbor or, there's issues. It can take time. So whenever we have to migrate a property that's in a nice subdivision, we're usually like, okay, that's no problem because, there was a plan of survey done when the subdivision was created back in 20 years ago, not too long ago. It's probably going to be good. And it's all good. It can happen before closing pretty easily. And usually we're able to get it done before closing. That's always a condition. It has to be done. So you're going to have to adjust the closing date if it's too long anyways. But it depends. But that's kind of why.
So we talk about lawyer review.
Yes.
Do you find that you're getting enough time for lawyer review? I'm submitting my paperwork. Hey, Mitch, we got a closing here tomorrow. Can we get our lawyer review done?
That's not going to make you too many lawyer friends. But,
No.
Lawyer review, I'd say, it's probably a personal question for each lawyer has what they're comfortable with. But for me, I would say as long as I have about a week.
That's typical what we see. Yeah.
If it needs to be shorter, it's fine. Lawyer review on a sale does not take long.
Okay.
Because it's just a lot less intrusive process or involved process, I should say.
Right.
Lawyer review on a purchase, we're going to dig into a little bit more of the documents on there. So there's a little bit more involved in just reading the contract and making sure the contract, the names are right, PID's right.
Right.
It's signed properly, all that. 7 days would be great.
Yeah.
5 business days or something like that, I would say.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So a lot of buyers they have a question about closing costs.
Yeah.
Which is the hidden closing cost for them.
Yeah. So,
which make them, surprised.
Sure. So what most people ask for, like when someone calls our firm and say, hey, like I'm looking to buy a property, how much does it cost? Well, it's a nuanced question.
Yeah.
It's not like going to a restaurant. How much is the steak?
Yeah.
So
it all depends.
Yeah. So most our firm does, and I think what most firms do. There's a flat fee for legal fees. Right?
Okay.
So we'll say you're purchasing a property. We'll say the flat fee is $1,300.
Okay.
But then there's obviously tax on that.
Yes.
One shouldn't be hidden cost, but people sometimes forget. And disbursements.
Yes.
Every client's least favorite word.
Right.
And also lawyer's favorite word. We don't make money off disbursements.
No, not at all.
It's just to cover the cost of things that we have to spend money on to get the service done for you.
Right.
So sending a courier.
Right.
Or ordering title insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Those things. So the main big hidden cost in disbursement will be title insurance.
Okay.
Right. $200, $300, maybe $400.
Right.
If the value of the property is really high, it could be $600, $700.
Right.
If you're buying a property that's 50 acres, it can be $700, $800.
Right.
So title insurance is a one hidden cost for sure. And then recording fees. So when we record a deed and a mortgage on title of the property, that's $100 each.
Oh, okay.
That goes to the Nova Scotia government.
Yeah.
It's tax free, so it's not $115, but it's $100 each. So that's $200 on there. So by the time you start adding in the disbursement of the tax, that $1,300 gets to $2,200.
Yep.
Right.
But it's not profit for a firm. The realtor's not profiting. It's just cost.
The cost, yeah.
So if your fee is X and we're on closing day and suddenly we are not agreeing with the other realtor, the other lawyer.
Sure.
That is time spent. Those are not billable hours? Those are they or are they not?
It's at the lawyer's discretion. I personally don't.
Okay.
I don't. It's not your fault.
Right.
I don't usually charge extra for that.
Okay.
Unless it was something ridiculous.
Right.
And I would tell the client, okay, if you want to argue about this, we're going to have to bill you at the hourly rate.
Right.
To it.
Right.
But usually I consider that to be part of the closing. Like there's a risk that could happen. And
Right.
that's part of my legal fees, providing that service to you.
Right.
Representation.
Okay.
So,
That's a
I would always tell the client if I'm going to start adding to my legal fee because of a closing day issue. I would let them know about that.
yeah. Okay. That's a good answer. Like, because I don't think people are aware of that. Okay. So I paid my legal fees, but on closing day, you know what? I see where they didn't paint this wall, but I'm ready to die on this hill.
Yeah,
Is it worth it to fight this, paint color,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So answer's probably no.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
But I mean,
if you're 2 or 3 days into it, I mean, how much time can you
allocate?
Yeah.
Like, I think that I would make best faith efforts. And if the client was being extremely unreasonable, I might say, okay, if you want me to continue,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to start charging out. And
Right.
If you don't want me to, then
Yeah.
we're close.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Do you have any horror stories about the fine prints? We always say, just read your fine prints.
Horror stories on the fine print. Not too much because my job is to prepare people for what the fine print says as part of my lawyer review. So I think if the lawyer's done their job well, the fine print shouldn't catch anybody.
What about the mortgage in this? Because you have...
Yeah, mortgage is a good one.
Yeah.
So mortgage, there's a lot to read in a mortgage. There's a lot of papers. So if a client has a mortgage broker, really it's on the mortgage broker to, a lawyer and a realtor aren't the pros on the financing.
No, I agree.
Interest rates and open and close mortgages and all that. I have a working knowledge, and you guys have knowledge what those terms are, but that's kind of in the mortgage broker's wheelhouse, or to discuss with they're working just directly with the bank, whoever their contact person is. We can give general advice and tips, but most mortgages are from the main banks and things like that. They're pretty similar.
Yeah.
So in today's technology, a lot of it's done online.
Yeah.
So, we're sending over paperwork, documents for people to sign, and they're sending them back signed. Have they read them? Have they read them?
Great question.
Yeah.
So in a real estate transaction, I guess really the only ones that are electronically signed are with you guys.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So we with the deed and the mortgage, it still has to be original, wet signatures.
Oh, okay.
In person. Usually,
in person.
You can do it over like a video conference, but still one of the signatures has to be a wet signature, so it gets complicated. So usually I'm meeting everybody in person.
Okay.
To do that. But the peace of mind, what I see a lot of buyers or real estate clients worry about is signing that agreement purchase and sale, let's say, before the lawyers had a chance to read it.
Right.
And people get hung up on that, but I think people forget that's what lawyer reviews for.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
I had a lot of people say, I wasn't comfortable signing it, I signed it anyways. I'm like, well, A, you shouldn't have signed it if you weren't comfortable, but B, you're safeguarded.
Yes.
The industry wouldn't work very well if I had to wait for the lawyer to put in an offer. It wouldn't.
So in regards to that, do you find yourself, are you, I don't want to say a traveling lawyer, but if you have a senior who can't get out of his home and he's signing this deal, will you travel?
Sure. Yeah. We do that for in other areas of law too, like wills and stuff like that.
Okay.
Elderly people that aren't mobile, or even in hospital.
On a personal experience on that, I just had my dad to get his will signed yesterday.
Okay.
The fella said he was coming, and then he didn't come because his daughter was immune compromised. And so anyways, I had to take my dad into the lawyer yesterday to get his will signed. Yeah. Okay. And you know what, had I known before we had met,
fair enough. Yeah.
But it's a kind of an interesting process in itself. The will, it's pretty straightforward. Here's your package, fill it out. And it was a good experience.
That's good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But no, we would go out if someone can't make it in, we, within reason, I can't drive to Anganish.
No.
It's within HRM or within an hour for sure. Yeah.
So I don't know if we touched this. You do real estate law.
Yes. Yep.
And what else do you do?
Wills and estates.
Probate. And probate.
And then corporate commercial law.
Okay.
Business law, contract law.
Okay.
That type of stuff. Yeah.
And do you have a favorite? They're all good.
Honestly, I would say real estate is my favorite.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
Residential real estate is my favorite. Just. Again, it's usually happy. Everyone's optimistic and excited for it, right? Again, business law, wills is kind of, it's good to get in place, but it's kind of morbid to talk about. Okay, so when you die,
absolutely,
probating someone's after they've died. It's very upsetting. Everyone's sad. It's just a requirement you have to do. So again, I like the.
But I'm sure you would encourage everybody to get in touch with Mitch McDade and get this will done.
That's right. Yeah,
get this will done because
shameless plug for myself.
It is what it is.
But it's good to have. It creates a lot less work for your loved ones after.
Yeah,
right?
it really does.
It tells them what you wanted.
Yeah, and everything's laid out, and you see it in families that are so close, and then when they lose somebody, you know what? Unfortunately, how can I say? Tempers flare.
Or sometimes true colors come out.
Yes,
When there's money involved.
Yeah.
It's an emotional time for everybody to begin with. So it can be, and that's to be said. Even if there is a will, it doesn't mean that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It just at least quashes the question about what did this person want.
Yes, exactly. So I didn't mean to get us off topic, but
wills and real estate are intertwined. Right?
Yes, yeah.
If you have a lot of real estate properties, your will should dictate what happens to other ones that maybe aren't residents. Or things like
so speaking about that, now, I'm not trying to offend any mortgage brokers out there or mortgage
professionals.
Yes, mortgage insurance.
Mortgage insurance,
Now, again, this is just me. I'm under the impression that life insurance might be a better option.
Yes.
Maybe not. I mean, life insurance is you. On death, you get the full benefit.
Yeah.
With mortgage insurance, it's a little different.
I usually tell my clients, so usually there's a mortgage insurance and life insurance offering with every mortgage that comes
right.
in. And they're welcome to sign up for that. But typically speaking, if you went and got a standalone life insurance policy, terms are going to be better. Price is probably going to be better. It's probably in your best interest to do so.
Yes.
It might be more convenient just to sign a thing. At least you got something in place.
Right.
Going to an insurance broker and actually getting a policy through them that's more customizable to you.
I
would probably say it's best.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say the other products aren't as good. It's just I think it's a little more cost effective to go with the life insurance product. Yeah. Well, great. Do you have any other questions, Raman?
No, thank
Yeah, Mitch. If I'm Joe Public,
Joe Public.
I'm Joe Public. Hi, I'm buying a house. Raman, can you sell me a house?
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Yeah, let's get it done.
Can you recommend a good lawyer?
We have it here with us.
All right. So, Mitch, why am I hiring you?
Well, I think you're hiring me because you're going to get a real personal touch to our service. I think we're a smaller firm. We do a lot of real estate. So if you're at a bigger firm, sometimes you don't really hear from the lawyer throughout the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
You just might hear from a paralegal, which is important. But sometimes it's good to know that the lawyer is actually involved and know what's going on too. And I'm pretty hands-on with my transactions. You'll hear from me directly. You'll hear from our paralegal, Cinnamon. She's great as well. But you'll be able to reach us. You'll be able to talk to a person. If you have questions, you'll be able to get to me. I try to respond within the day. And if I can't, I'll shoot you an email, tell you I'll call you tomorrow. And that's been received.
And for those who are watching this podcast, this is Mitch's personality. This is who he is.
Yeah.
You know what? Whether you call him at 2 PM, but don't call him at 2 PM. But but this is the fellow you're getting. Such a good personality. You know what? I would highly recommend. You know what? Mitch here as your lawyer.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Most important traits in a lawyer when you're working on a transaction. What do you value the most?
More than anything, it's communication.
Yeah.
You know what? We need to be able to communicate calmly, rationally. And we're all on the same team. We're trying to work through a transaction, and it's not you against me or me against you. It's we're trying to achieve a goal for our clients. So for me, it's communication. Like, let me know what's going on. Don't surprise me at the end and say, oh well,
didn't close.
Yeah. I think communication for me is the most important thing.
Right on.
Same thing for me. Communication is the main thing, and replying our emails and
my emails is helpful.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have time to give an answer saying received, we'll get back to you.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
It does.
Because we don't usually meet you guys, right? We just send you documents.
Yeah. Exactly.
If we don't hear from you, we don't know
what's going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you know what? I guess a good working knowledge. We recently had a difficult transaction where there were some language barriers. Our lawyer was away. The fellow sent it over to a different lawyer and anyways, it got heated between the client and the lawyer. I'm not sure who was at fault, and I don't think it really matters. I think the whole point is to work through it and not be pointing the fingers. And we're all trying to achieve the same goal. Let's just remain calm, get this done, and it should be the happiest day of somebody's life, closing day, or one of the happiest days, other than childbirth. That's the most amazing thing. That is. But buying a home should be a very happy day, not one filled with animosity or anxiety. It should.
And for our viewers, for you guys, we are realtors who are working with in the same team. Realtors are working for you, mortgage agents are working for you, lawyers are working for you, home inspectors are working for you, and we all are just here to help you achieve your dream.
Yeah, and that's the best thing about having good lawyers, good mortgage brokers, and they're all good.
Yeah.
But having ones that we're all compatible with. We have a team that, you know what, our personalities match. Like, you know what, I can honestly say I love your personality, Mitch. I think, you know what, it's a great addition to what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So having this ability to communicate easily is a real bonus.
Frictionless, you know.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Good work for it.
Yeah.
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 All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes,
for
thank you so
your
much.
wisdom.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
man.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Please do watch our episode and leave your comments in the comment section. Thank you so much, and share it with your friends.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you have any law questions, please reach out to Mitch McDade.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.